Hello and welcome. My name is Alan, and today we're going to be looking at things that I think could be done to better make a better country for everyone. Hell, it would help the world, this particular thing. We're going to be focusing on the use of eminent domain. In particular, as a way to enforce companies to behave, especially your big corporates. Eminent domain itself, power of a state or the federal government to take private property for public use while requiring just compensation to be given to the original owner. It can be legislatively delegated to the state or by the state to municipalities, government subdivisions, or even to private persons or corporations when they are authorized to exercise the functions of public character. Property taken by eminent domain may be for government use or by delegation to third parties who will devote it to public or civic use, in some cases to economic development. The most common uses are for government buildings or other facilities, public utilities, highways, and railroads. However, it may also be taken for reasons of public safety, as in the case of Centralia, Pennsylvania, where land was taken due to an underground mine fire. Yeah, it's a coal mine fire that still is going to this day. Some jurisdictions require that the condemner make an offer to purchase the subject property before resorting to the use of eminent domain. Now, one thing is a lot of these companies, they aren't going to care to enforcement. I think eminent domain should be another tool in the belt to force these companies to behave. Essentially, you don't care enough to make things safer for everybody, for the earth, and thus, as such, it is laid upon the government to take from you your business, which is the perpetrator in this, and we shall give you $1 because you are too in debt to the ideation of making money, of greed, than rather do what's right. And I think this is what should happen to a lot of these huge corporations. Private corporations, the ones that haven't gone public, yeah, that's easy. It's these that are public corporations that are on the stock market. You would essentially have to go out, purchase up all the stocks, and then tell them, we own the stocks, we are taking the company, and we are going to use it. Take it off the market, force it to do what's right, what is correct, rather than be for the sake of fucking money. Honestly, eminent domain should be something they threaten these corporations and the rich with. it is normally used to seize property. That's one of the most famous ways, but as we read, it can be used for public safety. However, it may also be taken for reasons of public safety, as in the case of the Centralia coal mine fire. As I've already explained, it's a fire that started burning and has been burning even to this day. And the smoke comes out of the ground and everything. It's just an unsafe place to live. But yeah, the terminology, the term eminent domain was taken from the legal treatise De Jure Belli et Pacis, or Pacis, written by the Dutch jurist Hugo Grotius in 1625, which used the term dominium eminens, Latin, for supreme lordship, which described the power as the property of subjects is under the eminent domain of the state, so that the state or he who acts for it may use and even alienate or destroy such property, not only in the case of extreme necessity, in which even private persons have a right over the property, persons have a right over the property of others, but even out of ends of public utility, for which the ends may be used for those who founded civil society must be supposed to have intended that private ends should give way. But it is to be added that when this is done, the state is bound to make good the loss to those who lose their property. Some U.S. states use the term appropriation, such as New York, or expropriation, such as Louisiana, as synonyms for the exercise of eminent domain powers. So yeah. But, yeah. Honestly, I feel if a company is too ingrained in the want of money, of profit, instead of doing what is right, what is just, then yeah, the state, the government, federal, they have a right and an absolute responsibility to ensure the safety of the lives of citizens over big money profit. And I feel eminent domain should be used as a threat to get them to buckle down and do what's right. If they don't, then eminent domain should be used to take their company. Because honestly, what they're doing is criminal. This can very easily be solved, but there's so many corrupt politicians. It could easily be fucking solved. We could have a society in which proper actions are taken to embetter the US, to embetter the world. We could push back on this climate change bullshit by forcing companies to do things to lessen the effect, because we know 70%, I think it's around 70%, was caused by like big companies, a big number of these big companies. If you force them to act in a way to change production, this could be fixed. You ain't going to fix it by forcing your ordinary person to drink out of paper straws. Yes, there could be things done. Instead of plastic bottles for cola, for soda, for milk, go back to glass. Glass is easily recyclable. Plastic, it's not. We can recycle like the first couple levels of plastic, the soft plastics, the easy plastics. Once you get at a certain level of types of plastic, no, it's not recyclable. Yeah, a lot of what's going on, we can push back on. We could force them, take them by the scruff of their neck and say, look, MFer, you're going to do what's right, or we give you $1 and take your company. Maybe even lock your ass in jail, because what you're doing is criminal. So, yeah, consider that. That should be how it's done. We could fix a lot of the bullshit. You know, we know that certain levels of energy can be changed in the way they're used to. Certain levels of fuel efficiency can be increased. But there's no push to do it because they don't see it as profitable. Motherfucker, sometimes you don't do it because it's profitable, it's because it's the right goddamn fucking thing to do, you son of a bitch. History of federal use of eminent domain I have here as well. The federal government's power of eminent domain has long been used in the U.S. to acquire property for public use. Eminent domain appertains to every independent government. It requires no constitutional recognition. It is an attribute of sovereignty. Boone Company versus Patterson. U.S. 408 or 403, 406 in 1879. However, the amendment to the U.S. Constitution, Fifth Amendment Constitution, stipulates, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Thus, whenever the U.S. acquires a property through eminent domain, it has constitutional responsibility to justly compensate the property owner for the fair market value of the property. Way I see it, they're already taking that, and thus they deserve a fucking dollar. That's all they fucking deserve. If you've already been making money at the expense of citizens, yeah, your property is up for the taking for $1. Period. Period, bitch. That's just the fucking way it is. The U.S. Supreme Court first examined federal eminent domain power in 1876 in the case of Coe versus the U.S. This case presented a landowner's challenge to the power of the U.S. to condemn land in Cincinnati, Ohio, for use as a custom house and post office building. Justice William Strong called the authority of the federal government to appropriate property for public use essential to its independent existence and perpetuity. So yeah, essentially, they condemned the property that was there. They were going to take the land and build a customs house and post office. Say, look, what's there is not fit for humanity. It is indeed something that needs to be condemned and torn down so it can be something that can put in there for the use of the people. I feel that we should be able to take companies and put their vast resources to use to making things better. Because a lot of these companies are driven by greed monsters. You know, demonically greedy sons of bitches who need to be kicked out of power. The pay needs to go to the workers at a better rate, and the resources that the company has needs to be put to use to do things better. Period. That should be how it always is. But when you're driven by the thirst for fucking money, you don't see things that way. And this is why I feel there needs to be a use of eminent domain against these companies. Period. Period. You need to do something right away because they need to understand you're not fucking kidding around. Smack some of these giant companies down. Say, look, you are going to be owned by the U.S. for the betterment of population. Because right now, all you do is hurt the population out of your greed, your avarice. So yeah. Eminent domain to motherfuckers. As I said, this could be easily done with private companies because that's something we can do right away. Public companies on the stock market, buy up the goddamn stocks. Buy them up. And then when you have the majority, say, we are taking the company, it shall be removed from the market, and we are forcing it to do what is necessary for the embetterment of people. I see this as something fucking simple. Enough companies get shown, hey, we are no longer screwing around, they'll suddenly go, I guess we are to do what's right. We don't want to get, our money makers taken away from us. And if you can scare enough of them, they'll straighten out. You just have to make examples out of a few of them. And it should always be something in the back pocket of government to do to these giant companies. It's something that would straighten things up right away. Boeing, you could fix that easy. Any huge polluters like Exxon and the such, you could help clear up the climate change issues by taking these sons of a gun and forcing them to do what's right. It's common sense. Easy to do. It's just there's too many greedy bastards. And unfortunately, too many in government right now who are corrupt and greedy. But yeah, honestly, I see it as something that should just be another tool that the government can use against these bastards. But we'll go ahead and end this episode here. As always, educate thyself, even though I've got most of the sign covered. Think, read, study, learn. Someone tells you some, blah, blah, blah. Someone tells you something you have trouble believing, ask them to cite their sources. I'll be putting my links and sources in the description box below the video. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you all in the next one. Until then, later.